brought this up to Dr. Helen and said, why do we do it? Yes, we have this period of the pandemic, but this is the opportunity. This is the opportunity to put something up like this and to bring in the students, and see really what we learn. Everybody's learning from this, including myself. Yeah. So yeah, that's how we all started with this morning. Yeah. So can I just highlight 3 points before I proceed further with the experience sharing? First is, I just like to say that this is a personal account. It is not a lecture. So therefore, I would quickly do a broad overview of what happened in the crash, because the crash is just the backdrop of what we want to cover eventually. And then we will quickly move on to a dialogue. Two is, I welcome questions because I understand everybody has got your own areas of interest, your passion, areas of specialization. Right? So I invite you to come from your areas, any area that you're interested in. It doesn't just need to be the theme of what it is this morning. Yeah? Just to say that the materials that I'm using this morning, most of it are available online. However, there is a document which has got some legal implications. So when we get to it, I will highlight that, and that's one of the reasons why I have requested for this session not to be open live to the public, and but I've agreed that it can be recorded and for the sole purpose of education at UTM. Yeah. So, okay, let me start by introducing myself. Name is Serrano, Latif's the surname. I started my first career not in aviation, was actually in the military in Singapore. Aviation was the second career I had with Singapore Airlines. Had 8 years there, opportunity to fly the 777, the 747, the Learjets. And then after that, I had the opportunity to be part of a German company called Tansal Systems. So that was about 2 years. We dealt with maps, charts, navigational materials as well. Thereafter, I was actually quietly approached by the Ministry of Education in about 2007. So that why don't we join a tertiary institution, Temasek, to develop a aviation program. So I was there until 2010. Very quickly, a short stint in Hong Kong with Hong Kong Airlines. So that's my third airline, technically. And so from there, in 2012, I was offered to fly the Airbus 320 in AirAsia. So that's my fourth airline, right? And seen different business models. So you look at it from a business perspective. I've seen the legacy airlines, how they operate, seen how the budget airlines, how they operate. Totally different. Okay? So yeah, let me pull up my slides. Are the slides good, Dr. Helen?
Captain, it is okay. We can see that clear.
Okay.
Yes. Right. Go ahead, Captain.
I don't see anyone now. Let me see. Oops. Are the slides still there? Because it disappeared from my screen.
Yes, it is there. I took a picture of you and the family.
Okay. I'm trying to call up the PowerPoint slides now.
All right. It's okay. You take your time, Captain.
Okay. I am not sure what I pressed when it disappeared for a while from my screen. Let me just This is where I need Nisha. Nisha, I seem to have lost the slides.
Captain, I think you can stop your sharing first.
Stop which one?
You stop the sharing first.
Okay, but
Okay.
let me get back. But oh dear, I think it's frozen for a while. Hold on, eh?
Sure.
Do you all see the slides?
Not yet.
No, yeah. Okay, this is not working. Not sure what happened.
Did you share the slide with any of the committee just now, Captain? Perhaps the committee can open the slide for you.
I have put it on share just now.
Okay.
It did come out as a complete slide. And then I went to the PowerPoint slide at the bottom, but it sort of disappeared after that.
Captain, are you able to stop the sharing now first?
There's no share button in the screen.
What does your screen show?
At the moment, I'm on you've gone incognito, that screen.
Okay, could you actually close
Close that screen.
that screen?
Okay, close that. Are you still there?
Yep.
All right.
Oh, everybody's still there. Okay. So, okay, now you see the screen of my desktop, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me call up the PowerPoint slide again. Still not coming up.
We can see your PowerPoint now. Sorry. Oh, this is your screen. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you able to click on the WebEx app or website? Able to
Okay,
open?
I'll call up the Cisco WebEx meeting page. It's not coming up. I've gone to Google. To Chrome and Cisco web meeting. All right, pulling it up, but it doesn't come up.
On your tab below, what does it show? Is there any WebEx application on?
Yes, there's one WebEx on. It's the one with Cisco WebEx meetings with my name. Sign in, join the meeting, upcoming meetings.
Okay, so you're using the browser. I see. Can you? Is it possible if Captain leave the?
I reboot everything. That means
Yeah.
I leave and come back in, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Possible? Yeah. Right.
Right. So sorry, everyone. Give me 2 minutes.
All right. Or about Young Wei, would it be possible for you to take over Captain's slide? Perhaps just let the captain do the talking. Look into that, please. Thank you.
I can do this.
You try to display while Captain is out. See how?
I seem to be still inside.
Hold on, Captain. See whether.
Hello? Is anybody there?
Yes, we are here.
Yes.
Okay. I seem to have regained something. Regain the screen. Okay. Yes. I'm going to completely move out of here first. Yeah.
Okay, in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, give the captain 2 minutes to sort this out. Welcome to technology.
Inshallah. Okay, but then that usually when you move, you find the console and then you can mutate it, but then it doesn't come out. Okay, correct. Okay. Done. Okay. Reading blank screen now. Full screen and blank. Yeah. It is like black screen. Just black screen.
We can see you, but could you share the slide via WhatsApp to the team members so that they can monitor that you?
It's like at the moment and then desktop.
Okay.
With Excel, yeah. That one. I may have to switch off my whole laptop. Would that be alright? You think? Yeah. Okay, Dr. Allen, 5 minutes, please.
Okay, sure. How about the other members of the team? Do they have any sharing today? Maybe they can go first.
Wait, okay. Let me exit
All right, sure.
my laptop. Yeah.
No problem. We have the reading material which we can share. Let me see if we can share the reading material. Yes, you very much that. One with the captain, so this reading material is prepared by students of section 2. Chapter now, try to get in and guide everyone on this one.
Yes, sure. And everyone hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you. Go on. Okay.
Are you using my sentence?
Right.
Alright, so for the first slide, for the introduction.
Sorry, I just stopped with my mic off. So this is a brief explanation of Captain Cyrano. As you can see, he's a father of four, and he was one of the survivors from the Singapore airline air crash of the SQ-006. Second slide, please. So here is a brief explanation of what happened on the case. It happened on 31st October 2000. It took place in Taiwan. And the accident happened when the flight was about to take off from the runway, and the runway was actually under construction and cannot be used. So at the moment they wanted to take off, they crashed into a construction equipment, and they caused the airplane to blow up. Next slide. So this is a brief timeline of the incident. We have put during the crash, the escape, the night of the crash, and the morning of the crash, just a brief timeline. And the next slide is what the incident has impacted the captain's life. As you can read here, after 10 years off, he became a pilot again with AirAsia until today, and he involved in the crisis management for AirAsia. So proceed next slide. This is a explanation about crisis management. As you can see, a little definition of crisis management is process by which an organization deal with a destructive and unexpected event that could threaten an organization or a stakeholder. So based on this case, the airline incident has caused difficulties on the organizations. For example, the incident was actually unique, and the company, in brief, that a company need to have a crisis management. So next slide. Next, please. So this is the stages of crisis management based on the cases. There are 5 phases of crisis management: detection, prevention, containment, recovery, and learning. So as detection, this case is really unique because they consist almost zero symptom. They barely could detect the problems. So this case, due to the bad weather, and as I mentioned before, they took off on a runway that is under construction. Prevention, actually the company are well prepared because they have learned from the crash of Silk Air, which was due to the pilot's psychological traumas. And for containment, this is how a company react to a crisis by responding to crises. So they help the survivors and the relative for survivors by giving medical cares, and they also fly counselors to assist the survivors. And for recovery, they have installed a better system for their aircraft, and also they have ordered new shoes because during the crash they use sandals, so it's really hard to run or yes. So next. So for delivery bad messages, first you need to deliver the bad news messages in a timely manner. Choose the right mix of channels. The best way for you to deliver bad news is by face-to-face or by person, and you need to sympathize the bad news, the person who gives you the bad news, and you need to provide a clear rationale and explain immediate impact, and also show goodwills. So this is the explanation that I just talked about for delivery bad news in timely manner, meaning that you do not deliver the bad news if you do not know the details. So you cannot tell someone the news if you not sure or you are unsure of the news. So next. So this is how we connect the cases with bad news delivery. For delivery the bad news in a timely manner, here is an example for the case. Captain Sirano joined some talk in Las Vegas and share his deeply personal story about the crash. Second is he choose the right mix of channels, as I mentioned before. To deliver bad news or news, you need to be face to face. So he chose to share his messages in front of a pack of people in a room, and third is sympathize with the bad news recipient. Next, please. So credibility. Here's a brief explanation about credibility. Credibility is when a person is trustworthy and respected by others, meaning that if you have a leader, you really respect them. So because they have credibility. So here is a three component that make a person can be considered as credible. So they are caring, character, and competence. As you can read here, the explanation for that three components. Next. So here's is the we connect the case with the components. So for character, you can read here and yeah. Next.
I believe Captain is ready now. So if Captain is ready, Shafa, then we give way to Captain.
Yeah, sure, Doctor. Thank you.
Are you ready, Captain? It's yours.
Yes, ma'am. Am I back here on the screen?
Yes, you are. We can see you now. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to share the slides now.
Yeah. Should the slide just refuse to grace us today, Captain, you may just, flow with it. We're good.
Okay.
Okay,
Now
we're
it
good.
looks
Yes.
okay.
All
We're
right.
there. All right.
Back on track.
On track.
Yes.
Okay. Let me start with the broad overview. So SQ006. SQ006 was actually a flight that was to take place from Singapore to Chiang Kai-shek, Taipei, on the 30th. Thereafter, on the 31st night, from Chiang Kai-shek International Airport to Los Angeles. So this is the chart of that we used that night, during the departure out of Chiang Kai-shek International Airport. We had 179 persons on board. We had 14 cabin crew. We also included 3 pilots. We had me, the first officer, which is on the right seat, and we had captain, which is seated on the left seat, and we had what we call a augmented crew, which was actually a more senior first officer seated on the center seat. And that augmented crew is to provide that extended flight time limitation, because the flight from Chiang Kai-shek to Los Angeles is going to take more than 9 hours. So you need an additional crew to make it a legal flight. Right? So I've always described that night as a normal day's work. We reported for flight. We got our flight documents. We checked them. There was nothing amiss. We knew that the weather was going to be wet. We knew there was a typhoon that was coming up south, about 300 kilometers south of Taiwan Island, and it's going to hit landfall the next morning. So, are we okay then? My slide seems to have disappeared. Is it still there? Are my slides still on? May I know?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna. Is it there now?
We can see your slide.
Can't see your slide now, Captain.
I've called up now. I have this slide CKS aerodrome chart. It's on my desktop. Is it there?
No, Captain. Only I can see only your face.
Okay.
Can you share back the slide with us?
Okay, this is now I'm back to the main page again. All right. Yeah, let me see.
Try to do back the first step you're going through just now.
Okay, let me share again. Yeah,
Mhm.
share back the slide.
Okay.
Slides there. Okay, yeah.
Okay, right. Keep on track. Thank you, Captain.
Thank you. All right. Next page. Okay, so that's the slide, yeah, of Chiang Kai-shek International Airport. So as I was saying, it was a normal day's work. There was no feeling of being something is not there, a miss or anything like that, right? We knew the weather was going to be raining. It is heavy rain. The sky was overcast, right? That means you have a layer of cloud that covers almost completely that area, and therefore you do not have even skylight, you know. Therefore, I remember peering out from the gallery, you know, because it was glass, you could see the vicinity of the aerodrome. It was dark. It was very dark, right? The conditions were very dark. And I remember as we got onto the aircraft, we took over the aircraft. We got onto the aircraft, we proceeded with the preparation of the cockpit, and everything was normal. Uh, but we had, for example, the in-flight catering guys who were trying to load the new food, catering food, and they mentioned that came forward to meet the captain and said that, Captain, we have difficulty in trying to load the in-flight carts onto the aircraft because of the wind. The wind was pretty strong, okay, and they had difficulty and it was wet. So I remember the captain turning around and said, don't rush, okay. Once you're finished, inform us, and then we will get started, right? So, and I remembered the conditions on the ground. That means on the pavements were wet because the first officer, the other first officer, had actually gone down to do the walk around. And when he walked around, he came back up again. He shared with us. He said that, hey guys, downstairs it's very wet because it was rain soaked. The pavement is, the water is really up. So now that was good feedback for us. It's good feedback because then we know how to calculate the performance for that takeoff, right? We input the necessary parameters, right, for that takeoff. Right? And I remember even before we moved the aircraft, the captain was looking at the charts as he was trying to brief. He said, "Hey, Serrano, take a look. All right, how do you think we will taxi today?" Because SQ006, that aircraft was parked somewhere around here. Bravo 5, it's a gate called Bravo 5. And then from there, he said, what do you think? Where do you think we're going to move? How are we going to take off? I remember telling him, I said, we'll probably quite easy. Taxi down south. Taxi down south. Faiz, is my pointer showing? Does it move?
Yes.
Yes. Yes,
Excellent.
Yes, Captain.
All right. So I shared with him, I said, we'll probably just move down this way. There's a taxiway there. And then down south here and take off from this pavement. This pavement at that time, it's called runway 06. Right? It's the usual takeoff runway for that airline because it is nearer, right? Then Captain actually said again, take a look. So this is risk assessment. Captain looked at it and he said, take a look again. Why 06 and not this runway? So if you look at the chart here, you've got 06, 5 right, and 05 left. So Captain said, why not 5 left? And I looked at it and said, hey, that's possible actually. And he said, look at 5 left, look at the length of 5 left. 5 left is a much longer runway. 5 left is actually a what do you call it? A well-equipped runway. If you look at all the lighting system. Where's my pointer? Okay. Before the runway here, you know, just outside here, and also at the top here of 5 left, you find that the lighting system is complete. It is meant for low visibility sort of operations, right? And so I said, wow, that's interesting. And he said, if we have problem on the takeoff and we need to come back straight away, which runway do you think we'll have to come back? And we all know that 5 left is the best runway. Okay, it is the safest option. And so I remember saying, I said, hey, good, those are very good considerations. And so and he actually said, okay, so if that's the case, we will probably push back from Bravo 5, taxi up north this way, use this northern crossing, right, towards this area. And he says that now, once we reach here, we may move down this pavement, which is designated 5 right. So he knew that 5 right, and we knew that 5 right was being used for taxi, not for takeoff. And as we come down here, he says we probably have to circumvent, go around it, because he says there is a construction here. He said, look, in our briefing notes, there's a construction here, so we probably go around it, and we could just continue down or go back onto the pavement, the runway 5 right, and then come down here, thereafter 5 left. Right? So that was very, very, you know, he was preempting everything, right? And I said, wow, okay, that's very good. I said, he wasn't rushing. He gave a good full briefing. We did a full cockpit preparation, and so we were ready to depart. So when I was requesting the clearance for taxi for departure, the air traffic controllers provided this instruction: SQ006, you're cleared to push back. You're cleared to push back onto the pavement here. Thereafter, taxi via this pavement, right here, down here. And then West Cross, there is a crossing taxiway. That means it crosses from east to west. Thereafter, November Papa here, and line up 5 left. So this is the taxi route. So that effectively was the taxi route. I guess you can see the taxi route. You okay? It's up?
Yeah, yes, Captain.
Okay. So that's exactly what we did. All right. SQ006 came down this way. It went on a crossing taxiway, November Papa, and line up 5 left. Okay. Now I'm sure most of you would have actually seen the documentaries. You read. Some of you would have read the investigation reports, right? That SQ006 never did lined up on 5 left. So that aircraft had actually taxied down here, and about this position, we were given the clearance to line up 5 left. An aircraft had lined up right here on this pavement, right, designated as 5 right, and provided the takeoff clearance. So they were given the clearance to take off, right? So now that aircraft was fully laden with fuel. We had 123 tons of fuel. It's a lot of fuel on a 747 because it had to bring us across the Pacific to LA, right? And so once given the clearance, the 747 rolled down that path, right? And this was the consequence, yeah.
Cap, I think your mic, there's no sound.
I deliberately keeping silent. Can you hear me, Dawson?
Can hear.
We can hear you, Captain. Everybody, let's observe some silence to respect those who passed away, those who suffer in this mishaps. That's the captain's intention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Okay, so that was the carnage that you see that was there on the pavement of 5 right. This chart is the fatality distribution that you can even source it up from the ASC SQ006 final report. Yeah, and if you study the distribution, you will notice that the aircraft had broken right here. The fuselage separation, there was a separation here, and this is the aft portion that you would have seen in the slide just now. The aft portion had no fatalities. That means everyone who was seated back there survived, right? Although there were a lot of injuries sustained, right? Majority of the those who perished are right here. And would you know why right there? What's probably the reason? Okay, so if you understand that in a 747, the fuel of the aircraft is carried by the wings of the aircraft, and so the wings of the aircraft and the underbelly at this portion are wing tanks, are actually tanks, fuel tanks, and therefore the fuel tanks were right around the center portion. And as witnessed by us during the evacuation, the large balls of fire that you can see also in the slide, the initial slide, had appeared from the wings, because the wings were punctured, and the wings were punctured, fuel was ignited, and you get all the flames that were being produced from that area. This is a flight deck. 747 is a stretch upper deck, we call it. Right here, right at the front, you see these 3 dots are the flight crew. I'm that yellow dot on the right side. So I've been classified as a minor injury, right? Whereas the other 2 pilots are not injured. Right? Okay, so this is a sketch of the crash site, which I had done on the second night of the crash. I remembered when the company had flown my wife up. Let me just check, is my wife here? Because I've given my wife the link as well, and she says that she will pop by. If anybody sees the name Serena, Cyrena, and that's my wife. Okay. So this is the sketch of the crash site, which she had encouraged me to do, because by the time she came up, met up with me, I remembered I was mumbling a lot of things. There was a lot of things that's going through my mind. The mind is racing, trying to understand, trying to figure out, trying to find out what's happening. And she says that you're mumbling so many things. Why don't you put it down to paper? And that's exactly what I did. I took a leaf of an A4 paper from one of the accommodation that we stayed, and I drew out this, very rough sketch. it looks rough, but I remembered I wanted it to be the position of every item to be exactly where I wanted. So even the direction, if you look at it, I indicated direction of the wind, where the wind was coming, direction of north, the layout, the direction of the pavement, and I remembered the direction of the fuselage, yeah, and the aft, the position, their position. I also indicated things like the extent of the debris, because I remembered the debris was very wide stretch. This is the position where the aircraft had come to rest. It was many distance, very far distance down, because the construction area was back there, right? Once it hit, it smashed back. The aircraft smashed back down onto the pavement, broke into two parts, into two major parts, and into about 300 pieces of debris. These were accounted by the investigators much later on as they did the investigation. Right? Now, in this sketch contains a lot of information, right? That I am able to recount exactly how it happened. It helps to trigger in my mind the bouts of actions that I was able to execute that night, right? From the time we escaped from the cockpit right down to the evacuation and how we were pulled away from this crash site back to the building. So let me just recount you one example. So if this is the dot that you see here, this dot is actually represents an individual that I had discovered. You have to remember that this location is very dark. Right? There's no light except for the pavement lightings, right, and the flames of the aircraft, because the flames of the aircraft were intermittent. So when the flames were there, you had light. When the flames were disappeared for a while, you had no light. You were scrambling around, stumbling over debris, and even over other individuals. Right. So I remembered one of the bouts of action was I was able to see some movement there as I crept slowly to that position, and I realized it was an individual, and this individual was still moving. The legs were moving. I remember grabbing the hands, and this individual grabbed back my hand, and I remember even shouting out. I said, "Let it go, let it go." Now you must remember that all this time it is showering. That means rain. It is unlike the thunderstorm rain showers that we have here. The ones we have here, it comes down straight. We call it showers of rain. Whereas here, it is, we call it typhoon-related weather. So the winds are a lot stronger. It is fluctuating. It is changing in direction as well. And you could feel the raindrops. I remember testifying this. The raindrops are dropping onto your skin or pelting. I use the word pelting onto our skin, onto our face, like as if you are flicking your finger onto your skin. You could feel it, all right? So in the midst of all that, you are trying to assess and trying to understand, what's happening, right? And I remember trying to figure out this individual, the shape, and I couldn't find the head. I couldn't find as I was, I saw this big debris over the individual that covered the head. And at that point of time, unlike what you see here, straight away you say, oh, it's a wing. We know it's a wing. And so I was trying to figure out and assess what this debris was. I was trying to look at, I said, what is this? It's pretty huge. At that time, the mind has not registered yet what that debris is. It's still trying to understand. And I remember trying to pull some crew and some other individuals along. I said, can you help me carry? So we couldn't move the debris as much as we want to. And it was not much later. We tried with air jets. eventually when rescue came, we tried with airjacks, we couldn't even move. Only when they brought a forklift much later, then we could move that debris up a little bit. And by then I was able to see that this individual, his head had actually punctured through the metal underside of the wing. It was inside the wing, all right? And that's why I couldn't find the full individual, right? So I'm able to describe you exactly what happened because of this sketch. And it is so consistent that my narrative is, I'm able to keep it consistent. So this document becomes my affidavit. It was part of my affidavit of my testimony in court. And I'm able to describe down everything as much as I could. What happened at the crash. I call it the crash point, right? At that point of time, right? So you would imagine that every other item on this sketch are other bouts of action that bouts of action that had taken place. Yeah. Let's move on. Yeah. Slide wouldn't move. Okay. Faiz, do you see the slide moving?
No, Captain. Still at the same
It is still, huh?
Right side.
Yeah, it is stuck here. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay, let me see if I can move forward. Okay. It's not moving. Okay, let me try to escape and see. Is Nisha trying to call me? Okay. Okay. Now it's moving. Do you see the next slide?
Yes, Captain. I see the next slide. Code
Okay.
issue.
Okay, thank you. All right. So what happened is truly what happened in this episode. I call it the SQ006 episode. It's a long episode, right? Is that at that point of time, I call it the crash point, right? And thereafter, I call it the aftermath issues. So what a lot of people do not see or just beginning to understand now is that there are a lot of aftermath issues in such a disaster. A lot of focus and attention is always given, especially by the media and the public during crash point, during when the incident or accident has happened. But few really really follow through, right? Such an incident. Well, I had to journey on, so these are my sharing from here onwards, yeah. Because I remembered sharing is that it's when the accident happened, we are trying to look for documents, we are trying to look for guidance, right, on how do we proceed as individuals who survive an accident like that. And we realized that there are no documents, nobody has actually published, or there are no written guidance at all. And so what I did was I very quickly, this is I think many couple of months down, many months down, and when I was be able to rationalize, put things back into perspective, right? Is that I put it into core issues, and I put it into what I call peripheral issues. Very two simple terms, because I remember this whole episode really drained me. It sapped me out of my energy, and that's exactly how I categorize these topics. Right? These topics today, you realize later I share, are studied, in fact, by themselves. Right? So I put three core issues: accident investigation, prosecution and legal implications, and of course the industrial and employment issues. Okay, so these are the core issues. Let me go one by one. Yeah? So aviation investigation is pretty straightforward. By the time the next day, the Taiwanese authorities had put together an international panel of investigators, right? And an air crash investigation, it is all laid out in the ICAO Annex, the International Civil Aviation Organization's annexes. There's one annex called Annex 13, which encompasses investigations. And so in that annex, it will spell out to you who has the right to host the investigation, who are the members that can be as part of that investigation team, that you can have accredited members. That means you try to invite expertise into that investigation, right? And how you do it. So that is all encompassed in ICAO. So that was done. And the host for this investigation was the Aviation Safety Council. So this is a document that you see here on the website. I mean on slide is the final report of the SQ006 investigation report. Right, it's a final report. Okay, you can actually access it. I think now still online. You just need to go to Aviation Safety Council. You look under investigations, the e-copy